So, phone lines are open. So, we're going to open up the phone lines. Again, you never know who's going to show up. And we had this idea. Well, Nikki had this idea a couple weeks ago that when we have guests on, our first female guest, we should call it Ladies Night. So, ladies and gentlemen, our first official guest on the Knit Club Wrestling Happy Hour for Ladies Night, Miss Zoey Skye. Zoey, welcome in.
Oh, surprise. Hey guys, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Not bad. I'm a mess. I'm on the road traveling. I just got done at the gym, so I'm in my car. This is how you get me today.
No, we appreciate it. We appreciate the time. So I noticed you're driving. Are you on your way? I know you're going to be part of Wrestle Show New Jersey. Are you on your way, traveling here as we speak?
Yeah, I actually am. It was a long drive. I didn't want to have to leave at 2 a.m., so I figured I'd make the trip today. And that way I'm there first thing in the morning. I'm there bright and early. So yeah, I am on my way out to New Jersey now.
Awesome. So, Nikki, we like to do ladies first here. So, Nikki, first. I let my wife here take it away.
So, my first question is always I'm so interested to know what got you into wrestling. Was it like a match or a wrestler or a pay-per-view that you saw that or oh, I need to do that forever? That's my thing now.
Yeah, it's so funny. Growing up, I loved hockey. My mom had season tickets to Pittsburgh Penguins. So every home game, she would switch between taking me, my brother, and my younger sister to a game, and I was in love. And I told myself, this is what I want to do. Well, and then I found wrestling, and I still love hockey by all means, but I never committed to learning and playing the game. Besides, in my driveway at home. So when I found wrestling, I was just intrigued. The characters, the stories, the people. Of course, back when I was watching, it was like the Divas era. The ladies just did bra and panties matches. It wasn't anything crazy, but I was fixated with guys like Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Undertaker, Chris Jericho. The list goes on and on. And I was just like, man, I don't know how, but that's what I want to do. It took until I was 18. I was in the military. I was just sitting at home one night, and I saw a local company on TV, Cleveland All Pro Wrestling, ran by JT Lightning, and I was just like, whoa, I can go somewhere and train and actually do this? Yes. So I went and checked out a show after a weekend drill because I was in the reserves. So I did my weekend with my unit and literally caught the last match of the show, Chris Hero and Claudio Castagnoli, main event, literally walked in uniform and was just like, I got to do this. So, as they say, the rest is history. I started training not long after that with JT. Eventually, Johnny Gargano took over the school. And now here I am 17 plus years later, literally living my dream.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's always nice to hear everyone's unique story on how they got there. So we're talking with Zoey Skye. We have to give a shout out to our friends at DNS Wrestling Collectibles who are sponsoring this interview in this portion of our show. They're actually going to be here with you're going to be there tomorrow at Wrestle Show New Jersey, yes. Right? Signing on from let me just get the time right here. So from 10 to 4. If you're in the area in Hazlet, New Jersey, you want to come out and meet Zoey, hang out with us all here, feel free to come on down. So, Zoey, I guess take us through, what was that like again, when then Johnny takes over the school, what you're just starting out, what is that journey like breaking in, getting booked and everything like that, as you start out?
Yeah, so I am not a very outgoing and sociable person. So for me, going to training, even though there may have only been anywhere from, 3 to 10, 12 people in training, it was such an intimate class experience that I was anxious and nervous the whole time. I was afraid to do something wrong, but I was very athletic. I played sports in school. I wasn't a wrestler, but I ran. I did basketball, soccer. I played anything that I possibly could. So I was athletic in the sense of I was able to get in the ring and get used to things, and I could run the ropes and things that of course you get blown up and you have, it's a thing to literally retrain because it's a whole experience. But I felt like I was able to adapt well, minus being just socially awkward. I haven't gotten over that over the years. I've gotten better, but I haven't gotten over it. But it was one of those things where it was okay, I just want to learn and absorb as much as possible, every time I'm here. I still was super nervous about going to training every single time. So every class, again, no matter how many or how few were there, it was just like, okay, like it's me and the guys. I want to fit in and I want to connect, but I'm going to sit in the corner until it's my turn to do a drill or to do something. And that carried on even after I got, through training and would go to other schools and sit in and just, instead of me participating in class, still being a student, still learning, still not being booked, I was still too nervous to get in the ring in front of people I'd never met now. But I would sit and I would just watch everybody and I would learn in that way. And I'm very much a visual learner as well. So that kind of worked. But it was one of those things where, it took time to learn and adapt to training and just being a people person in that sense. But then to get bookings was a whole nother story. Thankfully, in a way, I came in at a time there were not very many girls around. Myself, Sassy Steph, we probably wrestled each other hundreds and hundreds of times over the time that we started to her retiring, just because there was nobody else around. Her, Brittany Force, Jessica Havoc, Nevea and Madison Rain in their early days, but they were still far enough away that people didn't bring them up to my area. So I wrestled guys more often than not. And because I was one of very few girls, I did easily get booked. I didn't have to reach out and make contacts as much as, say, I would now, because it was just, hey, you're a girl, you're local, we want you. And I would be booked multiple shows every weekend, anywhere from 2 to 4 shows a weekend, Friday through Sunday, every weekend for months, because it was just easy. Plus I wrestled every Tuesday at a local bar in Akron, Ohio. So it was like I was constantly being able to be booked, and it was nice, but I never got to learn that connection and how to put together like a resume, so to speak, and put together information to put myself out there, because it just came to me. So over the years I've learned that. So it's great to know, but it's one of those things that I harp on people now, that I'm like, no, get your stuff together, reach out, because it's easy for people to reach out to you, but it doesn't happen like it used to. Like, you have to put yourself out there, male or female, to get yourself out.
Right. No, absolutely. And actually, it kind of bleeds into. Nikki wanted to ask you a little bit about wrestling, wrestling.
Oh,
different
because
genders.
again, also watching in the Divas era, it's so hard to just see like the stupid panty matches or whatever, and like I'm just gonna like slam your head into your big hair into the mat. So sort of like, obviously women's wrestling's come so far, we're actually wrestling, which is so exciting. And I don't want to be like that cliche, like, oh, what about the women's revolution? But like, sort of like how you feel how women's wrestling have come so far in the past couple of years. And I feel like obviously being, to me, more respected, or, actually looked at more than like, oh, you're, in a little skirt, than actually doing the fucking moves.
You're right. Like, it's one of those things where, like, I don't ever want to downplay what anybody has done. That if I was around and when I was watching wrestling growing up, and if that was still how it was today, that probably would not be for me. I don't cover up entirely, but I'm more covered up in my in-ring attire than most girls. I don't flaunt things. I mean, you can see this is me. I don't do my hair and makeup on a regular basis. I get up, brush my hair, and I'm always busy. I'm on the go. But I'm not, the girls that had to do the bras and panties matches and such, like, yeah, they had minimal training and it was all just for show, but that was the time, so that's just what was kind of there and expected. Again, I won't be negative toward them. That's just what it was. They got paid to do that. That's what they said, yes, I'll do it. So they did that. But it's definitely evolved and changed so drastically. It's so funny because Jessica and Havoc and I were just talking about this last week, about how so many people and girls are saying, oh man, I wish women's wrestling was showcased more, and I wish people understood what we go through. And I was like, not to downplay what people are dealing with today, but boy, where were you 10, 15, 20 years ago?
Yeah.
You don't understand how much things have changed and how much women's wrestling is being showcased. We literally have all women's events consistently throughout the United States, including on big platforms. AEW or WWE did the Mae Young Classic for a couple of years. It's a bummer that they didn't do that anymore, but look how many females, regardless of their independent background or not, look how many girls are signed to top companies. And then how many other females are on the indies on a constant basis that are still just going left and right, just booked everywhere, then overseas and so forth. So it's one of those things where it's evolved, and there's always ways for things to be evolved, evolve into something better and more positive. And I feel like for the most part, we're still continuously making those steps. So as long as everybody's just enjoying what they're doing and putting in an effort to better themselves and a better just professional wrestling, women's wrestling will also continue to evolve and grow because of that.
Well put. So we have one of our listeners here, Lisa, is chiming in with one of her questions. She wants to know, what was your greatest lesson while training to become a wrestler?
Oh boy, that was a long time ago. I got hit in the head a lot. Let me think. It's one of those things where, JT passed of cancer years ago now. So when Johnny took over school, it was because JT wasn't able to come and train us on a consistent basis. But every time he came into the school, which was usually once a week or so, but every time he would come into the training class, or he would happen to be at a show that I was on, even if I had a very minimal role, he always made sure to pass along knowledge. And it was always just, I felt like even though he was very badass and had a very intimidating presence, he was always sure to, he'd still crack a laugh and he'd have fun. He was very professional, very businessy, but he very much wanted everybody to be better. So it's like I'd say the greatest lesson as a whole is just to go be a fun, good person, but help everyone. If I'm helping somebody, they can also help me. I'm telling people all the time, I'm constantly learning. Again, this comes from training as well. Like, you're told you should always be learning. And there are girls, I just wrestled a match with a girl. She's only been in the business, like wrestling matches, for a few months. And I felt like I was able to learn something from her. I won't get into specifics because she trained someplace differently than me. And her background was different than mine. So we were able to change and adapt things that I haven't had to worry about in years because I've just been so consistent at doing my own thing. So it's great to be challenged by other people. So if that makes sense, like the greatest lesson I've learned is just to continue to be challenged, to continue to learn, and always put yourself in a position to learn and grow.
Absolutely. So you've been in a lot of, your different promotions over the years. Does one stand out for you that you felt like, you kind of took it to a whole other level? It really just worked for you and your character, or is it just all kind of, just different experiences that have blended into your career?
Yeah, very much. I'm not a very super outgoing person. That changes because of wrestling, thankfully. Like, I've been more outgoing in my personal life, but because of wrestling, as soon as that music hits and I get through the curtain, like, it's a whole different experience. So, like, I can just enjoy it and so forth. For the first 10 or so years of my career, so to say, I wrestled as Angel Dust. I still have people all the time come up to me like, "Oh, hey, I remember you when you were Angel Dust." And now I'm like, "Oh boy, I feel old because that was so long ago." But I made that transition and that change of name. So there was a slight, I went from Angel Dust to Dust for a brief moment to Zoey Skye. And the Dust character kind of made me realize that I can be more than just me. I don't have to just be I can change who I am and be a character more than just being me on a higher level. But I feel like with all this change between Angel Dust, and Zoey Skye, working with Shimmer, I'm so mad at myself, Shimmer Women's Wrestling, that I did not put myself in a position to be on those shows earlier. I could have been there from practically day one. Like, they were around just a couple years before I started. There was no reason that I didn't put myself out there. But again, like I said, I got booked so consistently, and I was so nervous and anxious to reach out to people to get booked places that I didn't try to jump in a car. I didn't try to reach out to them to get booked. But when I got there, again, in a locker room where the girls want to see each other succeed, where they all push each other, from the bottom of the card to the top of the card. It didn't matter who you were. You were on this roster. You were there to shine. You were there to showcase who you were, and everybody wanted each other to succeed so that the companies could succeed. And when I got there, I felt like I belonged. Like, I knew a lot of the girls, so that was great. But I went in, I was able to showcase who I was. I was able to wrestle talent that I would never be able to wrestle anywhere else. And it helped me believe in myself and grow. And I sit here as the Shimmer champion, but I sit here waiting for Shimmer to come back so that I can continue to grow as a performer.
Well put. And before we let you get out of here, we have one more question, actually, because you bled right into it with talking about Shimmer. One of our
Perfect.
Steve wants to call in and ask you a little bit about that. Steve, welcome in. You're on with Zoey Skye.
Hi, thank you for joining the show today. Thank you for taking my call.
Hi, Steve.
Hi. So you were the last Shimmer champion.
Yes, current, so to say. I'm not going to say last yet until they completely officially say they're done. I refuse to say they're done. I'm the current champion, yes.
Undefeated for 2.5 years, yes.
I won't go that crazy, but yes.
That's a great attitude to have. But I mean, what was the that must have been bittersweet that you won the title the one night, and then there was at least for now anyway, as you said, no more promotion. What was the vibe that night during the show? I mean, was there hope that Shimmer was going to be continuing beyond that day?
Yeah, it was still kind of, it wasn't, as the people like to say, it wasn't kayfabed, it wasn't a secret, but it wasn't directly put out there. There was a lot of question in the air, and of course, like, backstage things were going around, and we kind of felt like there was going to be a brief hiatus, but we were just hoping that maybe, and we still are at that hope that's not going to happen, that it's not just entirely done. But with the thought of potentially having the title put on me at that show, for me, I refuse for it to be the last show. I feel like if it's the last event, for as much as I appreciate that I got this title opportunity and I had the championship, I don't want to be the last champion. There are so many talented girls that started out in that company that are still wrestling, that I feel like if there's a last, it should be somebody who has been there, has challenged everybody in that locker room, has been places, so like I'm 1,000% grateful. I will never be negative toward it. I hope that there's more to it than it seems like there's going to be. But I'm very grateful that I was given like the faith to be like, hey, we're going to put you here because we feel you deserve this. So just to get up to that point, to have a main event match, let alone have a championship match, and then carry the title, regardless of what the future holds, I'm very grateful. And again, we just really hope that maybe things will change in, months or even years. We can at least have one big Shimmer reunion, and I can at least get a title defense.
Well put. So we talk about your last Shimmer match. Let's talk about, before we let you go, what do you got coming up? I know you have a match this weekend or tomorrow that you're prepping for. So take us through. Where can everyone find you and what's going on?
Man, I can hardly keep up with myself right now. Yes, tomorrow I'm with the Warriors of Wrestling. I have a triple threat match. That was kind of a last minute thing. One of the guys had to cancel, and since I was in town and they wanted to fill a spot, thankfully, that's kind of been my rule through a lot of my career. It's just I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm a great last minute fill in, but I feel as though because of that, I can get in the ring with anyone and share experience and share knowledge with anyone. So it's great. It's great to be able to be counted on for stuff like that. I wrestle for the Midget Wrestling Warriors. We have a lot coming up. I know we're in Indiana at the end of the month. I know next month I might be here and there doing some stuff for AEW, more Midget Wrestling Warrior shows, I'm just kind of here and there. So the best way to kind of keep up with where I am as I post things is, my social media, Facebook, Zoey Skye, Twitter and Instagram, Zoey Skye Pro. I don't post much in terms of where I am on my website, but my website has all kinds of merch and cool stuff going on. shopzoeyskye.com. So that's how you can find me. Social medias, and then the website has the email for a direct contact. So anybody can hit me up there or see where I'm going to be through those.
Awesome. Well, if you haven't already, make sure you follow Zoey. Zoey, we can't thank you enough. Have safe travels to New Jersey with this rain that's coming, unfortunately. So drive safe as you come east.
Yeah. So thank you, and I hope that I appreciate you guys having me on. I really appreciate it. This was fun.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much.
Take care, Zoey. Ladies and gentlemen, Zoey Skye.